Today we're talking about condensate pumps, how they work, why you need them, and how a smaller brand is coming into the industry and disrupting the market. The concept of a condensate pump is extremely simple. You have your AC system, which produces water by taking humidity out of the air, and water follows gravity, which goes down. Now, depending on where you live or how your house was built, you might not have a drain line that is lower than the system. Residential systems, whether you're in a basement or a vertical inside of a house, you might not have access to a drain line entirely, so you have to go up and over to another spot in order to get that water out from where the system is located. Commercial applications are normally the same because you have a system above the ceiling and then you have one bathroom way off in the corner. You might need to pump the water over to that bathroom if you don't have the correct fall. That's why you need one. Now we're going to talk about how it works. Condensate pumps are very simple. They're small units. They have a reservoir and then you have the pump head. You have water coming in from one of 4 spots and then you have one piece of tubing that's going to come out. This is the discharge line and just go wherever you need it to within a certain distance. Now here's where today's sponsor comes in, Cleartide. They have sent me out their condensate pump, and after getting my hands on it, taking it apart, and truly looking at it, I am actually kind of mad at the bigger brands that the supply house has. If you're familiar with the red and black condensate pumps, the things I'm going to show you about this one are going to blow your mind. Let's start off from the top. Water needs to come in. You have these rubber plugs that stay with the lid. You're not just going to accidentally lose one, and it's not a cheap plug. That's just like a normal piece of junk plastic. Over here you have your discharge tube. It's a standard plastic nipple that you're going to use and put your flexible tubing on, put a hose clamp, all the good stuff. This one actually has a button you press down and you can pull the entire setup out, the entire discharge tube out, and you can use that to try and clean it with a pipe cleaner or whatever. But this particular one already has your check valve in it, which means you're not going to have that little one. You actually have to cut the hose and install in the middle or about a foot off. And when you're done servicing the discharge nipple, whether it's inside the lid or inside the nipple itself, you just plug it right back on. It seals itself. I want you to envision the other pump. You're gonna pick up on the lid to try and separate it from the reservoir, okay? Because everything is flexible, it's not very strong. This particular one, you cannot separate the lid from the reservoir, meaning you're not accidentally gonna send water anywhere. You actually have to flip this switch to open, pull it up, and that is how you get 2 different pieces. Now let's start off with the reservoir itself. As you can see, this is thicker plastic than that other black and red one, okay? This is nice plastic. At the bottom, you actually have a filter on this one. This filter is gonna help you keep the insides of the pump clean. So most of the time, all you're gonna have to do is pull this out, wash it out, put it back on. It's just like a mini split pump with that little cylinder filter that they have. Most of the time, all you have to do is clean that out and you solve your entire problem, which the bigger brand does not have. Now right here, we have molded on mounts. This is a big deal for me because those little metal mounts that the big brand has, I had one fall off. The whole reservoir came down and I had to purchase new ceiling tiles for a customer because it was on a commercial site. These are not gonna fall off. Big fan of that. Now let's move over to the lid. What exactly do we have here? We have hard plastic, which is nice. I'm so tired of buying cheap plastic products. I want you to take a good look and tell me what you don't see. This is a one-sided conversation, I'll tell you anyway. You don't see a float switch. You don't see a styrofoam float, meaning this system has a normally open set of contacts with these probes in order to turn the water on. You're not gonna have something that floats up and down and can possibly get stuck because just like an SS1 or an SS3, you can have buildup of algae or zooglea, whatever, on those float switches, those styrofoam switches, and that will cause those systems to fail and they won't rise up because that center rod will stick to the actual styrofoam. You're not gonna have that because anytime water crosses these two, you're gonna close your continuity, the pump's gonna turn on. Same thing with these smaller ones. These are your float switch alarms. So you're going to wire in this entire pump to your float switch system so that if the pump says, hey, I'm not pumping water fast enough, you need to stop producing altogether, the pump can actually shut down the AC system, which I'm a big fan of. Now let me show you how to provide power and set up the wet switch. On the left side of the unit, you have these 2 covers. This side, you're going to use to plug in your adapter, your 120 volt to DC adapter for the pump. Just like so, regular barrel connection. The other cover is for your wet switch. That is going to be what you see on the back of a PlayStation 5 or a TV. Basically, you're gonna have your plug this in. Here's an example of the float switch wiring, including the Cleartide pump. From our unit, we have our 24 coming to our condensate switch. We have our 24 going through our condensate switch over to the float switch for the pan. through the pan switch over to our pump. Our pump does not have an alarm. It's going to come back through and then go all the way to the unit. If the Cleartide has a problem, your alarm will be on. The problem is either going to be the tube that's connected that you're pumping all the water through is clogged, or the inside is gummed up and it is clogged. When you fix that, or you just need to test it, you can press the button. We'll go ahead and run. We have no water in it right now, but we are 100% clear, no alarm. It's tested. It says it's good to go. Now, a machine can be pretty all at once, but if it's not capable of doing anything, then it's not worth it at all. The red and black pump, the one that the supply house has that we've been buying for years, has a max lift of 22 feet. Cleartide claims they have a max lift of 27 feet. Now, 5 feet might not sound like much, but we're talking about an additional 5 feet water column straight up against gravity. That's a pretty big claim to have, and I didn't want to just believe that the manufacturer was right on that. I had to prove it. We are here with the Cleartide pump, and we are going to test and find out if the max height is what they say it is by using the side of my house. Here we have a pump, and up the side of the house we have 27 feet. All the way up there, right up there, that is 27 feet from the pump, which is actually taller than my house. So we are going to determine whether or not the max height is what they say it is. Now, I'm gonna be using the garden hose that my kids play with and beat up. So sorry for that part looking a little ratty. But the goal here is to feed water into the pump, let it kick on, and just keep dumping water into it so it can build up that column and send the water all the way up. And once it gets there, we should know because we're gonna get rained on. Nothing left but to do it. Let's go ahead and send some water in here. It should light up, say run, when the water gets to a certain height. There we go. I put water in there faster than a system really would. So let's see if it'll do it. Should start raining soon. It's creeping, but it's still pumping. That's 24 feet right about there. Here, come on, come on. And now it should rain. There we go. That's 27 feet up. It is pumping, no problem. 27 feet up with a very hard bend. That is awesome. That's very impressive. Check this out. The pump is physically running right now. It has water in it. It is running. It's pumping all the water out. Do you hear how quiet it is? I'll shut up. Seriously, this pump is making no noise. We learned two things from that experiment. One, they're not lying. Their product can actually lift water 27 feet, no problem. Second, it is extremely quiet. Looked it up, and this motor will run at 25 decibels. That is stupid quiet. You're never gonna hear this thing actually running. By the way, I looked up the noise level of the other brand and it is not listed. Probably a good thing because if you've ever been around one, they're pretty noisy. Thank you to Cleartide for sending out this pump and helping me out with this entire video. I'll have a link in the description down below. Also, don't forget to pick up your World of HVAC quick reference and duct reference cards. I will have a link in the description down below. I have been and I always will be a fan of someone who comes out, takes an existing product and makes it better. I hope this helped y'all out. I will see y'all in the next one.